The Sandbag lift station requires that 30 total lifts be made in 3 minutes and 30 seconds or less. The Sandbag lift is essentially a deadlift, which is why training that exercise in a controlled environment first will help with proficiency and safety in the test. It is well-established sound lifting technique to keep heavy objects as close to the body as possible when lifting them. We want to have equal weight distribution from the anterior to the posterior side, or from front to back. This involves getting the feet on either side of the sandbag in a fairly wide squat. It is not absolutely required that you're right over the sandbag for each lift, but this will increase your chances of doing the lift safely. When squatting down, push the knees out. This puts the knees in a good position to track over the toes, as well as keeps them out of the way of the arms when you're picking up the sandbag. Though many people make it through the evaluation balancing on their toes, keeping the whole foot on the floor is important for stability as well as for maintaining knee health. If the sandbag is too far out in front, the chest often drops or remains in place while the hips lift, placing a demand on the low back and slowing down the lift. It is better to ensure the chest and hips lift at the same time, and this is more easily accomplished the closer you are to the sandbag. Another important concept is to keep a relatively neutral spine. When I do the lifts, I've observed that my spine is not always perfectly neutral. Indeed, in this picture here, my spine is far from it. It would be safer for me if I were to work on my hip mobility before I performed this test. If it seems that I'm focusing on a good position at the bottom of the lift, this is correct. By setting yourself up with a strong position at the bottom, you are giving yourself some wiggle room as far as technique breaking down on the way up the wall. In order to accomplish a good bottom position, I recommend you perform this squat stretch 3 to 5 times for 1 to 2 breaths before doing the sandbag lift. It offers direct positional stretching by mimicking the lift exactly, as well as offers a slightly different stretch for the hamstrings, which will likely help with the bottom position, as well as warming up the squat and deadlift pattern. You can also add to the stretch by throwing in an overhead reach. Okay, so we've talked about safety and mobility, but how do we go fast? We have 3 minutes and 30 seconds or 210 seconds, so each lift may take 7 seconds for a minimum standard. A good time for the lifts is 1 minute. That is 60 seconds for 30 lifts, so 2 seconds per lift. A very good time is 45 seconds per lift, which is 1.5 seconds per lift. With a little bit of practice, this can be achieved. Align your sandbags so the pigtails are facing the same directions. Your hands remember how to grab objects, and this action can largely be automated by muscle memory. This becomes easier by making sure both the left and right sandbags are aligned the same way. Note that it also helps when the bags are dropped in a consistent spot. The minimum requirement for the lift is to hit the intersecting lines on the wall. It is evident by the black smudges on the wall that most people lift the sandbag too high. It's okay to be on the safe side, but lifting the sandbag well above the line costs valuable milliseconds for each lift. Just hit the target. Move back and forth efficiently. When you're moving from side to side, avoid extra steps. Most of us can get away with one small step between sides. Plant your foot 2 to 4 inches on the other side of the line and then start descending towards the sandbag. You'll also notice that while I'm contacting the wall with the bag, I've already started moving back to the other side. I've jumped the bag up, but after it's achieved enough momentum to reach its target, my body is already moving back. Get stronger. As mentioned in the beginning of this video, being strong is very important for this task and for the force evaluation in general. If the 20 kilo sandbag represents a weight you have trouble moving at all, moving it quickly will be impossible. A member who can perform a technically sound barbell deadlift with 5 or 10 times the weight will have a much easier time with the sandbag comparatively. Following the tips from this video will give you an advantage, but as with most things where milliseconds matter, you need to be aggressive. Ensuring you have a perfectly neutral spine each lift will keep you safe, but it may not make you any faster. Your lifts don't all have to be perfect to be safe. A member who uses horrible lifting technique will not break any records, but it's hard to be perfect and fast. Doing movement prep so you can get into position to pick up the bag safely and efficiently is very important, but if you want to be fast, you can't slow down or let up between lifts. I hope you found this video helpful. Good luck on your next evaluation.